You failed me! 500 years I have waited. Now I must wait 500 more.
My lord, all is not lost.
Curse the Elder Gods in their tournament. I should have taken Earthrealm by force. But I am bound by their rules. Rules that cannot be broken.
My lord!
Kill him.
But what if the rules were changed?
Kitana. Continue.
After the success of the original movie in 1995, Threshold Entertainment was given the green light on making the movie a part 1 of a trilogy, and in November 1997 a sequel was released, but unfortunately the movie wasn't enough like its predecessor, so it underperformed. And the third movie was put on hold, and it went through development hell for the past several years. Until August 2015, a very prominent filmmaker from Australia signed on as a producer to help get a third Mortal Kombat movie off the ground. And after the big success of the most recent entry in the Mortal Kombat video game series, the idea eventually grew, and now was the time and opportunity to bring Mortal Kombat back to the silver screen. And thus, another movie was put in motion to hopefully breathe new life into the live-action series. Mortal Kombat is a spiritual reboot, a modern era while remaining somewhat faithful to the original material. The feedback to this movie are completely mixed. People either really love it or hate it, both reactions of which prove that the movie did something effective. Mortal Kombat is an extremely flawed movie that does some good in terms of character, but it goes a bit too far and adds too much, which ultimately spoils itself. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at Mortal Kombat 2021. The movie kicks off in Japan of the 17th century, where a great ninja warrior, Hanzo Hasashi, and his family and clan are killed by Chinese assassins, led by a man named Bi-Han, who called themselves the Lin Kuei. Jumping to the present, we continue our story with a man named Cole Young, a former professional mixed martial artist who gets rescued and picked up by two special forces, Jackson Briggs and Sonya Blade, where they explain that he, along with many others, have been chosen by a dragon marking to fight in a big tournament called Mortal Kombat. Meanwhile, in the realm known as Outworld, a ruler named Shang Tsung uncovers an ancient prophecy, and Outworld will lose the next Mortal Kombat tournament, and gathers a group of fighters to hunt down and kill their opposition, in the hopes that he'll be able to prevent this prophecy from coming true and take control of Earthrealm. For starters, this is a contrived and convenient story, with a bloated cast of characters, many of them inconsistent and having no purpose, about the contrast between good and bad. The plot is practically non-existent, and the script is nothing more than an excuse for things to happen. There's a plethora of information and things about the world and outlandish elements, and none of it gets expanded upon or explained. It starts out balanced and strong with an interesting backstory, but right after, the narrative is completely stripped down to its bare essentials to get to fight scenes as fast as possible. The characters are mediocre, with some getting better representation than others. One of the strongest is Kano, played by Josh Lawson, a foul-mouthed, despicable, experienced mercenary that gets bribed into taking Cole and Sonya to Raiden's temple, a location he's familiar with. This character is a riot, and steals every scene with his personality and charisma, including an excellent portrayal of the character from the source material. He's a shady professional with a potent desire for reputation, dominance, and prosperity, and he's the glue that holds this movie together. Sub-Zero, played by Joe Taslim, is a lethal, dark, sinister assassin who follows Shang Tsung hunting down the Earthrealm champions. The character is very similar in style to Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. He uses his powers and abilities to strike fear, as well as alter and change their surroundings, oftentimes in spooky ways. He's an evil ninja warrior hell-bent on wiping out the bloodline of the Shirai Ryu and representing his faction, the Lin Kuei, and the movie does an effective job maintaining his air of danger.
Welcome to my world, bitch.
Another standout is Scorpion, an undead ninja from the Netherrealm, which is hell in the Mortal Kombat universe. He has a very limited amount of screen time, but when he does show up, he's energizing and straight to the point, and Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays him, does a great job making the character authentic and captivating. As for Cole Young, who was the protagonist and a new character made for the movie, he goes through an arc to be a better fighter defensively and becoming powerful, but only when the movie decides to focus on it. He's a very dumb, bland reacting passenger that gets swept along throughout the entire movie, and there's nothing much to him beyond his lineage to Hanzo Hasashi. The rest of the cast of characters, literally all of them by name, are generic and default. Some of them like Kabal and Liu Kang get touches of backstory, while Sonya and Jax get a brief moment of development. But all inclusive, everybody else is just there to fight, to make a fight happen, and it just rolls with it. When they all could have been instrumental in shaping the events of the narrative.
Choose your destiny.
So Mortal Kombat 2021 sets up and adds many different things and story choices to the original material. One of those creatives is the dragon marking, which plays a very significant role in the world. According to the movie, the dragon marking is a supernatural-like birthmark that forms on the body, and the gimmick for those who have this marking is that they will gain a superpower. And this marking can be earned inherently, or if you kill someone who has it, then the marking will get passed on to the person who ended them, while at the same time show that you are chosen to be a combatant in the Mortal Kombat tournament. It's a fine addition, however it takes so much away from the characters themselves. The characters in Mortal Kombat are all specific with their own unique skills and abilities, some earning their talents through years of training and mastering an art form or power, while some invented and made their own tools and weapons from the ground up. For example, Kabal is a character that can move at superhuman speed, which makes him a blur to his foes in combat by using a special gas which gives him the ability to move super fast. In Mortal Kombat 2021, every character is a super, just people with special powers they can use if they awake their arcana, which is a spiritual, psychological technique unique to them. It's an interesting idea, and the movie does an effective job with it, but it makes all the characters feel generic, bland, and non-distinctive.
Ah, laser beam! It's better than fireballs, you pussy!
Raiden is one of the most powerful personalities in all of Mortal Kombat. He's a caring, sympathetic, optimistic leader guiding and inspiring groups and individuals for justice and goodness. And he's a very active, energizing presence whenever he shows up in an event, moment, or scene. But in this movie, he's a very weird, inconsistent kind of a douche who just explains things and getting characters from one point to the next. He's a god and the most powerful being in the entire realm, but doesn't use any of his power to remove Shang Tsung and his warriors attacking the champions of Earth before Mortal Kombat. In the material, Lord Raiden is not allowed to interfere in the tournament until it's completed. However, if there is no Mortal Kombat, champions of Earth are being attacked, or anything that poses a threat to Earthrealm of any kind, he can interfere and stop it. In this movie, Raiden does nothing for unknown reasons while doing things without things making sense. In the beginning of the third act, Raiden explains Elder Gods are forbidden from engaging directly in war, yet he was engaging directly the entire movie. Teleporting champions away to safety, teleporting Shang Tsung's fighters to certain locations so they can fight one-on-one, teleporting Shang Tsung back to Outworld, and giving Cole Young specifically a tool to help him in his combat. It's a very weird portrayal of the material, and it feels like the makers of the movie didn't know how to go about using him or just missed the point of the character. As I previously mentioned, Raiden is allowed to interfere, but only if the situation isn't fair. He can offer hints and clues to people on how to solve their problems, but cannot tell them or aid them in their solution directly. Also, if you really think about it, Raiden could have stopped Shang Tsung and his plan numerous times throughout this entire movie because of the treason he was committing.
Elder gods are forbidden from engaging in one realm's war against another.
Lord Raiden, can you send anyone anywhere?
That's mine.
I thought you said you couldn't get involved.
Well, this is awkward.
The heart of Mortal Kombat is the tournament, and that is the point and driving force of the entire story, but this movie actively avoids the tournament, shoving in characters and references while teasing an expanded universe with sequel bait built into its plot. This was a very poor decision because it does not deliver on what drew us in the first place, setting up and expecting to be one thing, yet the movie delivers something entirely different, while at the same time compromising what Mortal Kombat is. Mortal Kombat has bloody fashion, style, fighting, and death, but beneath all of that, the fiction adheres to its own rules, and that's what makes the Mortal Kombat concept so interesting. It's a dark, grim fantasy about the fate of worlds, but it is a tournament, and this tournament does have rules. Mortal Kombat 2021 does basically the opposite. It throws the tournament out completely, it's an onslaught of characters, adds a lot of things, does a lot of weird things, with a lot of references along the way. It's Mortal Kombat 1's story, but it takes spotlight off the major characters and concentrates more on its new character when logically it should have been the other way around. We establish where the major characters are, stay focused on them for the first half, gradually introduce this new guy in the middle, and then start the blending in the third, where we're still following the classics but also starting to blend this new guy more heavily into the story. So by the end, cinematically speaking, we are ready to accept this new character while still holding on to those roots. But unfortunately, that formula has become obsolete in modern entertainment efforts. Taking a popular pre-existing IP, make things up, rush it, shove in as many references, slap it together to make a quick buck. When all the makers of this movie had to do was make an adaptation and tell a cohesive, believable Mortal Kombat 1 tournament story, with basic movie elements like stakes, urgency, intensity, anticipation, and etc. All that being said, this movie is a hot mess, but the vision is there. It has an interesting idea and a good style, and I would like to see it take the next step. With better writers, focused direction, and some character refinement, this could be a pretty kick-ass Mortal Kombat series.
Despair is the most dangerous fear of all. I know this. And so does Shang Tsung. He can peer into your soul and use the fear he sees there against you. You must be prepared.
One more victory, and Outworld will gain control over Earth forever. And Shang Tsung will enslave the entire human race.
That was pathetic.